Hey everybody, welcome back to the studio. So I've had a pretty intensive couple weeks with editing and behind the computer time, and because of that I've needed to spend some time exercising and stretching my wrists to make sure I'm keeping them healthy. So would love to share a few things that I'm doing on the daily, if not a few times a day, to keeping everything nice and loose and moving well in my wrists and my forearms. So the first thing that I do is actually just a warm-up for 2 stretches that I do after the warm-up. So the first thing that I do is called a controlled articulated rotation at the wrist joint specifically. So what I'm doing is I am placing my elbow directly into my body, and that's my first point of contact. My second point of contact is actually going to be my hand, my opposite hand, and I'm going to hold my forearm here like this. So the points of performance that you kind of want to pay attention to, your forearm is going to be facing up towards the sky. And what we want to make sure of here is that we're not moving at the elbow. What we're going to do is we're going to focus entirely on the wrist. And so that opposite hand really holding that forearm as it's facing up towards the sky is going to help us really focus and maintain movement in the joint as we go through this rotational scheme here. So all I'm doing is with a closed fist is I'm making really slow circles with my hand. And all I'm doing here is like 4 to 5, maybe 6 circles in each direction. And it's just starting to get those muscles and ligaments kind of warmed up here. And then what I'll do is with an open palm, I'm just going to go around in circles again. Same thing, 5 or 6 in each direction. Depending on how I'm feeling, I might change that up a little bit. I might just close my fist and extend my thumb, and then I'll do a few more. I feel that differently on the outside of my forearm there. Sometimes I'll just do one finger out and just make really big rotations here like this. This is going to feel different for everybody. Play with it and see what's going to work best for you in terms of like just getting things kind of warmed up for the next step. And so I'll repeat that on the other hand, 5 or 6 rotations in each direction with maybe a couple variations in there as well. So the next thing that I'm doing is I'm coming down onto the floor because I'm able to get like really good leverage here for these next 2 stretches. And so I'll take my palm of my hand and I'm placing it onto the floor. And I go into this really, really slowly just to keep things safe and really suggest that for everyone who tries this. So I'm just bringing my body weight up over my hand. So the goal here is to get your shoulder up over your fingertips and beyond. So taking this really slowly, I'm making sure that my elbow here is completely locked out and the pit of my elbow is actually facing away from my body as much as I can here. And this really allows for a really deep stretch here in all of those ligaments and tendons leading into the forearm and into the hand. All those wrist, underneath the side of your wrist tendons are going to be really stretched out here. This feels really good. And all I do here is I make little circles around my wrist. And this is just going to last for like 30 or 45 seconds. That's the beautiful thing with these stretches is you don't have to do them for very long to get the maximum out of them. So just stepping away from your computer for 3 to 5 minutes to do this is a really good way to making sure that you're keeping your wrists nice and healthy. And so, like I said, only 30 to 45 seconds here on this. Feel free to stay longer there if that feels good and you feel like you're getting a really good stretch, you have time. Feel free to spend more time in there. I'm actually doing this probably 3 times a day on heavy editing days to make sure that I'm keeping things healthy. So as you come out of that nice and slow, I just usually just give it a couple shakes. And then the second stretch that I'm doing here is actually I'm putting my top of my hand onto the ground itself. So the thing you want to keep an eye out for here, I take this one really slowly, especially the first time that I'm doing it. in the day to just to make sure I'm not feeling anything weird, no pain spots or anything like that. So start this out with a bent elbow here, and as you're working yourself into it, you're gonna then straighten your elbow. So that's the next point. And then the next point after that is you're going to want to turn that pit of your elbow away from your body. And so there, each step is going to give you a deeper and deeper stretch. And so you want to take that really slow and pace it out for yourself and just see where you're at. So from here, I have a nice straight elbow. It's directly over my wrist. And I'm actually just going to lean away from my wrist. I'm going to sit back on my heels a little bit to get an even deeper and more intensive stretch out of this here. You want to make sure that your hand is not coming up off the ground as you do this. If that starts to happen, you've gone too far in the stretch. You want to make sure that the top of your hand is staying flat on the ground the entire time. So as you're doing this, I'm not bouncing. I'm just going nice and slow as I go through that. I'll let up and then I'll move back again. And so again, this is a 30 to 45 second stretch as you go through this. And as you come up, I just peel my hand off the ground, nice and slow, give it a good shake out. And then the very last thing that I'm doing is I'm kind of saving all of that work with another articulated rotation here. So if you're paying attention to the very first time you're doing the controlled articulated rotation, afterwards you'll start to notice you're getting more movement into your wrist each time that you do this stretch. So give that a try, work it into your day. And like I said, pay attention to where you're at from the very first time that you're doing it. And then look at it a week later after doing it, every day of the week, at least once. And then look at it again the next week and see where you're at and see if you're getting more mobility and more range of motion in those wrists from stretching them out. So give that a try and please let us know how it goes. And if you have any questions, feel free to leave them below.